My brothers and sisters in Christ, can you tell me why people continually listen to false prophets? And not only listen to them, but they continue to believe in these individuals. And you may say, I don't listen to false prophets. Good. But do you? And here's a test. When the Lord had me write the book, Discern or Burn, the subtitle, Let No One Deceive You. On the cover is an Antichrist image on a television set because it represents the many media personalities in what you call mainstream media and also social media who are actually false prophets. And some of these individuals, even after being discredited, they're still on their platforms and people are still trusting in these individuals and even using their arguments as talking points against certain things. For example, some of these individuals that people continue to trust. During COVID, they lied to people about the potential origins of COVID. Rather than pointing people to the most likely source, they were diverting their attention elsewhere. When there are things such as natural immunity and medications being used for off-label use as in times past, suddenly because of COVID, those things were discredited and things are just being funneled towards a vaccine. And a lot of so-called journalists, they lacked the journalistic curiosity that we expect of journalists to find the truth. And then afterwards, when things started looking like the narratives were falling apart, these individuals, a lot of them were unrepentant. And then you had the Joe Biden administration. Back in 2019, the Lord had me do a message called Forsaken. And a part of the message was speaking about Joe Biden's mental decline. Again, that was from 2019. But you had many media personalities who were taking people away from the truth and saying that things that were being done were deep or cheap fakes of Joe Biden to make him look bad. And now some of those individuals are even writing books to make it seem as if they were always on the side of truth. But they were not. Not only were they cowards, but they were liars. And again, some of these individuals are still being trusted despite their track record. And by the way, the other day I saw something about a lady who worked in the Biden administration saying that she was lied to. The thing is, Jesus spoke about a thief, that he comes to steal, to kill, and to destroy. The thief also points to the devil, who is a liar. Liars lie, but it's up to us, like I mentioned with the book, Discern or Burn, to let no one deceive us. So she's saying that they lied to us. Yes, they did. But it was also her responsibility and everyone else's responsibility to discern what was the truth. And when you find out that someone is lying to you, the person keeps on lying to you and is unrepentant, you have to deal with a person accordingly. I'm telling you, in my testimony, I shared that in 2015, I was in a situation where a false prophetess came into my life. And there were some lies that seemed as if they were plausible, as if they would be true. But the moment something happened and the Lord let me know that this is a lie, that was it. That woman was through. And the woman remained unrepentant. And as a result, I have nothing to do with her. And that is how we have to treat people when we realize that they're false prophets. I remember Catherine Crick, when she started coming on the scene. And the Lord told me, do not listen to her. What I do, I obeyed. And in time, I found out what the Lord was warning me about. So yes, there are people out there, they will lie. And even when caught, they will continue lying. But it's up to us to discern and not just to cast the blame and say, well, they lied to us. We're not supposed to believe everything. We are supposed to discern. As is written in 1 John 4:1, we ought to test the spirits because many false prophets have gone out into the world. And a lot of these false prophets are on media, social media. And if they could be trusted in times past, why are you trusting them now or even in the future, especially when they remain unrepentant? I also need to remind you of this. If you follow a liar, an unrepentant liar, that person is going to turn you into basically two things. First person is going to turn you into a fool because you become a fool by continuing to follow a liar. And secondly, the person is also going to turn you into a liar. And a part of that, the Apostle Paul wrote in 2 Thessalonians 2 that if you do not love the truth, the Lord will hand you over to a strong delusion. That way you will believe the lie. So some people, they start off being deceived and then they end up becoming deceivers themselves. And it goes back to because they did not love the truth enough, that when they should have stood up for it, when it really mattered, speaking on besides or behalf of truth, they chose the opposite. They chose the easy way out. And they stood up for the masses. And then afterwards they want to come out as if they are heroes, which makes them even more of a deceiver because they lacked the courage. And when Jesus spoke about those who will inherit or have a place in the lake of fire and brimstone in Revelation 21 verse 8, the first group of people he mentioned are not liars, but actually the fearful. So those who are coward, those who are not courageous enough to stand up for the truth, especially when it truly mattered.